Hi, everyone. So today we're going to see how AI and collective innovation can shape the future of rights management. And let me first maybe introduce a little bit of innovation at SACEM. I'm trying not to be boring. But SACEM is a leading CMO worldwide. We represent 240,000 members. But I don't know if you are aware of how SACEM was created, which is one of my favorite stories. So we are a non-profit, and 174 years earlier, there were some music composers in a pub having a drink. And there was a band, let's say it was a band at the time, playing the music, and they recognized that was a work they had composed. And they decided that they wouldn't pay for their drinks because they were not being compensated for the music that was being played. And that's how collective management started in terms of rights. And I love this story because I feel it shows how we are still trying to represent creators and members that own all CMOs and that they're for creators worldwide. But it also shows you that we are very old in a way, and that since then the music industry has changed a lot. It faces a lot of disruption, and we had to be innovative, otherwise we wouldn't be relevant anymore. We shifted, I think, from a very simple company to a data company. We collected over 1.4 billion euros last year that were given to creators worldwide. We represent also other foreign CMOs on the online department and other publishers such as Universal Music Publishing, Impel, and so on. But enough with the boring fun facts, and let's dig into it. Yes, this is a bit of a headache, but what I wanted to do is a bit of back to the future with tech and what was important. Innovation is about timing. If you innovate too early, too late, it doesn't work, and it's even more accurate when it comes to collective innovation. And as I mentioned, I think collective innovation is in the DNA of CMOs because it's collective organization, and it's even more real when we have to face new tech. We had to adapt, and we are better together, we are stronger together. It's very true when it comes to licensing and negotiating deals, but it's also the same when you face new techs. But new techs are not a threat, they are new opportunities. The market dictates them, and we have to adapt. And I wanted to highlight at the top of this small chronology, different time where techs have changed the way we needed to collect rights, whether it's big data and cloud in 2017, whether it's blockchain that was not the utopia that everyone was hoping for, or whether it's AI and Gen AI. And more on this part, you will see also the fact that we like to collaborate with other CMOs, such as 𝗥𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗫, that is also a non-profit in the US, or Guyomard, and shout out to Milad in the room, and with other also actors around music arts. There is a resources that we love at SACEM Lab that is produced by Gartner every year. Gartner is an IT consulting firm that is also working on innovation and leadership. And they produce a hype cycle curve, and they predict how techs are going to evolve, when they're going to reach plateau, when they're going to peak, and it changes. And I have highlighted a few things, and it was funny to go back to 2017. In 2017, you could already see what the future was composed of. You could see virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and we dealt with that later on. And the dates are almost accurate, but you also see data discovery, deep learning, and machine learning. And I look back on what we did in 2017 at SACEM. 2017 was a big change after a big disruption in the music industry. Streaming had arrived and had settled for a few years. It was at its peak. The mean of production, the mean of distribution were made easier. Social media increased, UGCs. We had to evolve and we had to anticipate. And why is that? I don't know if you're all familiar on how we collect rights, but it's not an easy task. Basically, let's say every month, all the DSPs send us the full stream line by line audio by audio. We don't get the audio, we get the metadata of the work. A work, it's a title of the work, it's the right holders and the shares. And we have to match that data. It's fun when you have a few thousand works and you have a few thousand recordings, but when you have billions of those, you have to process all that information and you have to make sure that it's accurate because it's the revenue of creators. And so back then, we partnered with IBM, and based on machine learning at that time and the Watson technology, we developed 𝗬𝗏rights. And 𝗬𝗏rights helped us, using machine learning, to do better matches that would help increase the way we would process royalty online, and that could adapt and fit the market. Because yes, there was at that time the rise of UGC, but there was not TikTok. There was not the same thing with YouTube in terms of creation, and there definitely was not Twitch. And not to mention afterwards the SVOD and VOD, because the music industry has always been sort of a lab for other cultural industries when they face disruption. It was true with streaming. We hit the wave way before VOD and AV. And so by building a tool like 𝗬𝗏rights, it enabled us also to collect rights, online rights, for other CMOs and for other publishers that were not necessarily in our perimeter at first. And there was a shift because we became a data company. In 2017, we were processing 1 billion data points. Last year, it was 4,000 billion data points. Another hype cycle. There will be a lot of hype cycle, I'm afraid. In this one, what I like is you can see 3 categories. So you can see cloud data system. So cloud system is here. You can see in green foundation model, machine learning again, with code generation, generative AI. It was started showing at first in 2022. But there was digital human, metaverse, NFT, and Web3. We would have loved the blockchain to solve all the metadata issue, but it didn't. However, there were some use cases that sticked. And one of the first projects that the SACEM lab, which is the team that I'm leading, had the chance to explore. And by the way, there is a product manager who is here and used to make it work, and Julien, who is handling the business side of it. Blockchain was really helpful for creators. It was a turning point for SACEM because it was the first time that we realized we needed to address creators that were not SACEM members. And it helped also with the way we would educate creators to defend their rights. So basically, when you create music, you have to register your works. But before you registered it officially, there can be a back and forth kind of exchange of audio and ongoing works that are not final and basically could get stolen. So how would they go around that? They would send themselves sealed envelopes to make sure that they have a timestamp, and if they have a case in court, say, hey, I was the first to create it. But it was a bit of an administrative hurdle, and so that's why we created MusicStart. MusicStart helped creators ahead of registration to be able to have a timestamp of the work while they're doing it. And to give you an example, there is an album that is famous, a hip-hop that is called Bande Organisée, and one of the tracks has 82 contributors to it. So you better want to protect it. And so we realized it was a way to really help the ecosystem and to help creators protect their work. And it was first available to them, and then it was available to SACEM members. And what we've realized is that 29% of these users that were not SACEM members became SACEM members, which is good for us, but it means that people understood the way they had to protect their rights. And so that was a shift in the way we would serve the ecosystem and creators. And to continue and to develop tools like that, another curve, you can see that API services and API-centric SaaS was peaking, and we decided to develop MusicStart API to make sure that anyone could use the service if they needed to. And there is an international distributor and another CMO who will be offering to their members to make sure they get their work protected ahead of registration. And then started to arrive AI. And we experimented a lot, and I think this is where everything really changed in the way we worked with other CMOs. So last year I was at California, and I did a panel with other panelists, and we were explaining how we were using AI to improve SACEM's operation. Yes, there is a lot of question about AI and generative music. This is another topic, but there is still usage and opportunities while we are trying to find the status of generative AI in the music industry. And we had organized sort of an internal hackathon where there were conferences to explain back in 2023 what generative AI could do, what it couldn't do, that it was not a magic one. And then we did a design sprint, meaning we would coach each department for a day and try to make them converge with the better idea that would respond to the question. How can generative AI help me improve my operation on a daily basis? Each team was able to find the right use case for them and got to pitch it as they were startups internally. There should have been like a podium with 3 or 4th because 2 had the same number of votes. And Cécile, our CEO, decided, no, let's do all 13 of them. Welcome, 13 projects. And that's what we did. And while we were discussing this on the panel, I met my counterpart at Guyomard, who cannot be there, but that's also how we sparkle the collaboration between CMOs. So she is still in charge of innovation at Guyomard, and they had been experimenting a lot on AI themselves, and we wanted to share and see, and we were discussing right before this keynote with Myriad how we can still improve and try to develop things together. We don't have to work siloed with use cases we are trying to solve for all creators. This will be beneficial to everyone. And so we decided to find one use case that we could co-develop. And it's about cue sheets. So it will be boring to enter into details, but basically we are trying to find which audio musical works is broadcasted in VOD as VOD. We get documents on that from Netflix, from Disney, and so on. And we try to make sure that it matches the information we get on works to make sure that it's processed accurately and that the creators get the money as soon as possible. And we could have done it separately, but instead, we really run the project alongside and try to share every step of the way, which was the first time, I think, that really, as a CMOs, we would open the way we would work in innovation. And we want to keep fostering this collaboration, and the project will end in a few weeks, and we already know that we're happy with it. At the same time, we also worked with ASCAP, with our counterpart in the US, and we identified another way to work together, which might not be really technological, but we felt that there are maybe 3 things that we can improve at CMOs. First, startups don't necessarily understand how the ecosystem works. The chain of points are very complicated. How we can produce maybe a document to help them solve this mystery rather sooner than later, because it helps for the business model. Second, we wanted to also help educate our members on tech, and I will come to that. And third, maybe we could help using tech tools and partnering with different startups. For instance, one is Cinegram that has won the Innovation Award at South by Southwest, and they have found a way to illustrate with 12 very simple shapes how the main accords and harmony in music, so that you don't have to read music to understand it and to understand how music is created. And we want to make that available in French public school, and we'll do a pilot with them. But we also want transparency for creators, and when it comes to AI, that's quite a challenge, because we feel that we have to help our members to be able to navigate and have the right information to decide how can I change the way that I create music and do it in a safe places, knowing that this company can change the way they work and the term of use. And that's what we are going to produce with them in the next few months. again, in terms of trying to be as transparent as possible and to make sure that members and creators understand what's our take on AI, we have recently produced a guide to explain what's the take on SACEM when it comes to AI and works. So you have a QR code if you want to read the full resource. It's super clear and super easy. But basically, when it comes to copyright protection, CMOs work because of what the law says. So unless it's written by the law, we're not collecting rights. The law says that in order for a work to be copyrightable, it has been done by an individual. And that's why there is a real issue with generative AI content. Is it done by a human because you're prompting? Is your prompt creative enough? So basically what we say is that it's an individual, and also another component to it is you need to have creative contribution and how to assess that. So it's kind of still, there is a simple line. If you are an author and composer, if you have composed 100% using generative AI with a simple prompt that is not creative, it's 100% generated by AI, you cannot register it. But if you have written the lyrics, then you can register it just for the lyric part, and vice versa. There is no real threshold as to what is a creative contribution. It's a case-by-case basis, and it's hard to evaluate. It's not done by SACEM, it's done in court, and it always has been. So that's what's a bit tricky. The thing is, basically, the one that is registering the work is responsible for it. That's what the statute says, and it's their responsibility. What we know is that minor changes is not significant. Yes, we believe a prompt can be creative, but it has to be really well worked out. In the meantime, we are trying to be cautious. Since the AI Act was adopted back in October 2023, we exerted our opt-out, which basically said you cannot train models with the TDM exception on registered works. We have reserved that right. You have to come to us, we discuss, and if we agree at the term, we can eventually license it. So for us, it's very important to negotiate the licenses to serve the ecosystem best and to represent creators best, because it's the first time that you have a tech that is it's the first time that in order for the tech to work, it needs to be fed by what it's creating at the same time, and it competes with what it's feeding it. So basically, we're asking fair remuneration to try to protect creators, and if you registered work that is 100% created by AI, then you might risk penalties because you're not in compliance with your statutes. And that's it. Any question? It's not easy to be talking all by myself.
No, very, very, very interesting, and it's like the back line of defense for creators almost, isn't it? And all this amazing work that's happening, and all the collaboration that's happening to like create this defensive line for creators. So it's amazing to hear all of that. But does anyone have any questions, like, or things that they want to discuss? So I'm going to pass you the mic, so because we're recording it, but.
Thank you for the whole presentation. It was very interesting, and I was wondering if you were actually looking to what is happening to other countries, and for instance, in the US, you know, like there was like this new copyright law and study that went super deeply in the granular, rights thingy. So is that something you're looking, or not at all?
We're always looking at what's happening worldwide, but at the end of the day, we work based on what the law says in France. So it can give you a hands up as to what the position of other territories are. But at the end of the day, the only regulators we abide by is Europe and France. So then we can have discussion with the government and that sort of thing, or the European Commission, but that's the only thing we can do.
Thank you very much. You just mentioned that the cooperation with Guyomard is coming to an end. Will you extend the contract, or what's ahead, basically, if you're happy with the results?
So we don't need contract because we love working with them so much. That's the good thing. Like, we're not in the administrative part of things. It was just an experiment to see how we can make it work, because we work in different environments. We have different tools. We process the data differently. But yes, that was really a success in what we had from the results. And I think we'll be looking for more projects. And we were actually discussing it just before this panel. So yes, hopefully we'll try to see, and even with other CMO, if we can join forces to better serve and to build tools quicker that will serve all creators.
Seeing as it's relevant.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. Yeah. I'm from Guyomard. If you want to talk with the CMOs, yeah, let's have a chat afterward, all of us together. But I have a question regarding this point that you were mentioning, that there is 3 points that you are mentioning that we should do for better collaboration. One of them, it was that to create a document for a startup, if I catch it correctly. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I don't know what's your take on this, but it's been, I think, 15 years that I've been discussing with startups, and unless the startups are built by people from the industry, it's very difficult to understand how to innovate, especially it involves rights, whether it's publishing rights or master rights. And so I feel it's because, in a way, we're responsible for it, and it's unclear, and it's our job to change that and to make it as simple. We will not be able to simplify all the rights, not changing any rights, but to be able to explain it earlier on, to exchange with the music tech Europe, France, and give resources available so that they make sure that they understand it correctly, and when they're building a business model and a business plan, it sticks. Because if the rights arrived afterwards, that we do not give the opportunity for the businesses to even prove the cases they have.
I have a follow-on question to that, which is like, how is anyone, a startup that's creating a rights management or rights collection kind of idea, like how do they find you? Is it obvious? Or, how open? I guess you're pretty open, but like, what would be the process if I was one of those founders? How would I come to you?
There is no process. I'm here, so come talk to me, or to Delphine, or to Julien, or to Vlad. No, but you can email me. You can reach out on LinkedIn. You can also, there is a form on our website at SACEM, and there is a page dedicated to the SACEM lab, and you can reach out, and we are always happy to help, consult, give advice, redirect in the industry if we feel that there are other key persons they should meet to make their business evolve.
Okay, so it's an open ecosystem that you're creating, basically. Your door is open.
Yeah, and what I didn't mention is sometimes, like you said, we work sometimes with startups if they can serve any use cases, because as in the innovation team, we work with all departments across SACEM, and we feel that there is a use cases that startup can solve. We're happy to test and to make the relation and to do a proof of concept with them and that sort of thing.
Yes, I have a question, but that has nothing to do with the topic. I'm Olivier. I'm working for SABAM, the Belgian Collecting Society.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. I just wondered, you had like a wonderful app with SACEM, I guess, to connect with your members, and I think you stopped supporting it. Was there a specific reason? Because just to contextualize, we have. When we do inquiries with our members, that's something that always pops up in the top 3. We need an app. We need an app. So I just wondered what the reason was that you discontinued the application.
So I think people don't need an app; they need services. Meaning, yes, we had an app, but our portal is responsive, and you can access it very easily, and you don't always need an app as long as you can use it on your mobile. So I guess it was a lot of work to keep on going and to update and so on. And so we chose to do everything responsive online, and that's what I say. It's not the solution, and it's exactly what we say even to anyone who comes to say, "Hey, let's do this. Let's use AI." And I'm solving. So what are you trying to address? What are you missing? Yeah. And then we'll see what the tech fits. So I would say that's the answer.
Okay. So that means that you made like your website more mobile friendly.
Exactly.
And, yeah. Okay.
And we didn't need the app anymore.
Okay. Super. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Any other questions? Any other burning questions? Yep.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you did with SACEM as a project?
It's still ongoing. It's very early. We're still trying to find the right format, but first we are looking to also. So it depends on which site, but what we find we were most interested in was to educate either so around music creation in schools, startups, and our members. And when it comes to our members, we also want to communicate as, yes, we're very defensive when it comes to AI, but it doesn't mean that we don't find a lot of opportunities, and we know that some of our creators and their creators are already implementing a lot of new tools and new way of creating with AI and around AI. And basically, we want to inspire creators to give them highlights as what they should be looking at when using any text, whether it's AI or not. Like how my music is used, which rights I own. Like, look at the T's and C's. It's not sexy, but it's important on your work that has value. And then to inspire them, say, for instance, you have 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗏 who did the Impossible song, which is basically him using AI with Dalida singing PNL, or Barbara singing Stromae. So he's using AI to show that it could be the way to pay tribute to could be done in another way around, thanks to AI, for instance. So you have a lot of things that we would like to highlight to inspire creators and say you can use new tools, new techs to change the process, to experiment and explore more, but just keep in mind of the service you are using, what is your checklist before using those services.
Okay, oh, thank you. So we have one more. Do you want to use this mic, Perrine? Pick that one up. I think that will work better because that's wired in.
Am I queuing all the mics?
Yeah, I don't think it's you. Okay, brilliant. You have a question.
Hi, Christian Martin from Playwright, CMO of performers in Belgium. How can your members can manipulate the information from the streaming, because you have billions of lines? How can the members retrieve some information about one work or one author for territory? Is it possible?
It's totally possible, and we would love for members to dig in way more data. So basically, we feel that the transparency is super important. And we rebuilt the portal a few years ago, and you get all the information you need. You can click and, for example, for an online, determine which DSP, which territory, which offer, which streams, and you get all the granularity in it, and it's all accessible in the portal when you're logged in. So they get all the information. But we feel that, we see, not that we feel, that apart from the day that paycheck is arriving, they are not necessarily digging into all the data every day. They will look at it on the key moments of the year, but all information is accessible online.